Hello, and welcome once again to the Craig and Lynne, or Lynne and Craig, I should say, live stream. Our aim here is to help you improve your English, all aspects of your English, your vocabulary, your grammar, your expressions, idioms today, and pronunciation.
And your listening
skills.
Because
Exactly.
I always think it's so different when your teacher speaks to you, then you understand everything. But when you hear two native speakers talking to each other, like Craig and I, it's a little bit more challenging. Yeah. So that's our hope anyway, that you get a lot of practice with your listening too.
And if it's your first time watching, just quickly, my name's Craig from the website mansioningles.com, where you can study English for free, especially if you're a Spanish speaker. And Ingles podcast is where you can listen to English for free and every week improve your English with the podcast at inglespodcast.com. Lynne?
And I'm Lynne. I'm from putitlikethis.com. I'm an online teacher, and that's my website.
Okay, we'll tell you more about that a bit later. Now, if it's your first time watching, please say hi. Tell us your name, where you're watching from, where are you in the world? And even if you've watched us before, let us know you're here, because sometimes we're wondering, is there anybody out there? So please let us know that you are there watching live, and we'll, of course, say hello to you. And if you have any questions during this live stream, then please write your questions in the chat, whether you're watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, and we will do our best to answer your questions. But what's the topic this week, Lynne?
Well, if you've watched us before, if you've been watching this year, we started in January and we said we would try to do once a month one of the 5 senses. So we've already done a live stream on sight, on hearing, on touch. Right. And we've only got 2 senses left. So today we thought we would talk about taste, the sense of taste. Now, the reason we're doing these senses is because a lot of students who do exams, especially at higher levels, for some reason, examiners like to test all the vocabulary around the 5 senses. And unfortunately, well, there is a lot of vocabulary around the senses, and especially with taste. Of course, if you are just interested in surviving in English, you only need 2 words. You just have to say it tastes great or it tastes horrible.
Yeah.
But if you are going to try to push your English, or you want to be more specific, or you're trying to do an exam and show off, then you definitely need more words than just great or horrible. So that's our aim today, is to try
you need to widen your vocabulary. Exactly.
Vocabulary.
And just say a quick hello to people joining us as we speak in the chat. Javi, our friend who jumped in last time to say hello 2 weeks ago. Hi, Javi.
Oh, yes.
Gemma.
Yeah.
Gemma's here. Hi, Gemma.
Yeah. Hi,
and
Gemma.
Marcin from Poland. Hello, Marcin.
Oh, hello, Marcin. Oh, so that's quite good. So we've got, because I think Javi's in Russia, isn't he? And Gemma's in Madrid. And Marcin from Poland. Fantastic. Well, there you are. We're already international.
And as Marcin said, it's not his first time here. It's not his first rodeo, you could say. It's not his first rodeo. Okay. So food and taste. What can we talk about when it comes to food and taste? Well, maybe to start, you could think of your favorite food and describe your favorite food in the chat. But don't mention the name of the food. Don't write what food it is. Only describe it. And we will try and guess from your description what food you're talking about. So describe your favorite food and use the vocabulary you have
already.
And then we'll teach you some words and hopefully improve your vocabulary, widen your vocabulary during this live stream, so that you can give better descriptions. But just for now, tell us about your favorite food. What food do you like?
Okay. Right. And in the meantime, Craig, while they're writing, because they'll have to think and write, maybe you can tell me, you can do it. Tell me about one of yours.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking as well at the moment, my favorite food. I can think of two. I'll tell you about one dish that I really like. It can be quite spicy. It's a
Mm-hmm.
savory dish, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not sweet, it's not a dessert. It's a savory dish, a main course.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's made well, it's kind of like a balance between sweet and sour, yin and yang. That gives you a clue where it's from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's from Asia. And it has that lovely balance between sweet and sour. And there can be meat in it, but not necessarily. It can also be a non-meat, a vegetarian dish.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be chewy if there's meat in it. So it can be quite chewy.
Oh.
And
Uh-huh.
if the meat is tender, which it often is, it's absolutely lovely. And there's also a crunchiness because of one ingredient, and it's absolutely delicious.
Wow. I have no idea. I'm thinking, at first I was thinking, is it a curry? Maybe.
Nope,
It's not a curry.
different
So
part of
it
the world.
has, but you said it was like in
Asia,
Asia. So I guess like
Southeast Asia.
China, Southeast Asia, maybe Indonesia or Thailand.
Yes,
Thailand. So, wow.
the most famous
What
dish
could
from
it
one of
be
the most famous dishes from Thailand,
from
and it's
Thailand?
not green curry.
I've never been to Thailand, so I don't know. But I'm thinking, is it sort of like, because you said it was crunchy and it can have things in it. So I was thinking of like samosas, but they're Indian, aren't they? I think.
Yes,
But it's
they're
like
Indian.
some kind of batter with like some meat in it or some vegetables. Is it like
No,
deep fried?
the crunchiness, that's the noun. The crunchiness comes from peanuts.
Oh, is it like a satay? Or is
No,
that
but
satay? I don't know where that's from, but
that's
that's
more
like a satay
Indonesia.
sauce. Indonesia. It's because I don't know Asia. You've been to Asia loads, haven't you?
It's
Uh-huh.
pad thai.
Pad Thai.
Pad
And what
thai.
is that? Does it look like a curry or is it
It's a noodle dish. So the base is noodles,
noodles?
and it's
Ah.
got this sweet sour thing going on because there's all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
different spices in there. There's lemon juice, which gives it the sour taste,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some sweet brown sugar that gives it the sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's vegetables in there, and carrots, and onions, and peanuts. And I like it with chicken. You can also have it with tofu if you're vegetarian.
Oh wow.
And that's
Okay.
one of my favorite dishes.
I don't think
Absolutely
I've ever had
delicious.
that. I've
Oh,
never had
Lynn, you
that. So
haven't
I'll have
lived.
to try it. No,
You
I'll have
have
to
to
try it.
try. You have to come round, and Uncle Les will cook it for you.
Really? Can she make it?
She
Yeah.
can make a very good pad thai. Yes.
Oh wow, lovely. Oh no, well I'll
Yeah.
take you up on that then.
I've said it in public now. I've said it in public, so you
Everybody
have to
will be going round to your
hold
house.
me to it.
Please note, everybody, he's only invited me.
Victoria loves fabada, so do I, from Asturias. But
Uh-huh.
you haven't really described it, Victoria. How would you describe fabada from a taste
Point
perspective?
of
I
view.
I
Uh-huh.
used words like sweet and sour, crunchy or crunchiness.
Hmm.
What other words did I use? I described it
You
as
said it was a bit
chewy,
chewy. Uh-huh. Chewy. Mm-hmm.
tender meat.
Mm-hmm.
So, how would you describe fabada, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite Spanish
Mm-hmm.
dishes?
Give it a go then in the chat file. So I'll describe one of the foods that I really adore.
Go
Uh-huh.
on then.
And haven't got to say the word. So the thing is, there is a bit of variety in this in terms of texture. Hmm. So the one that I particularly like is the one that has kind of a harder texture that I can really bite into. But when you bite into it, it's a very creamy kind of bite. But there are other versions of it where you can't actually bite it at all. It's actually very, very soft. Your teeth go straight through it. But it's always usually a little bit creamy. Hmm. There are some versions of it that have a very, very strong flavor, very strong.
I
And there are
know.
other versions that are very, very mild.
I
Mhm.
know what you're talking
And
about.
although we're talking about taste, I usually find people either love this food or they hate it. And
Yes.
in my family, it's like that because I've got one of my daughters who hates it and I absolutely adore it. But the reason they actually hate it is not to do with the texture or the creaminess of it, it's actually to do with the smell. And smell is in next month. We're going to do the
Smelly, yeah.
the one on smell.
It can
Have
be
you got any
smelly.
idea? Have you got any idea what it could
I
be?
I think I know what it is, yeah. But let's see if anybody watching knows. And if you're a regular watcher of these live streams, you might remember that Lynn spoke about this
Oh,
a
did
while
I?
ago. Yeah,
Oh, did
yeah.
I? Oh,
When you
wow.
used to work
Oh,
in
yes,
a
yes.
supermarket.
I did indeed. My favorite job. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I used to work with this food. Now, it can also be a little bit crumbly sometimes. Sometimes it can be crumbly. And sometimes when you put it in your mouth, it melts in your mouth. And sometimes you have to chew it a little bit.
And when you heat it, it gets very stringy.
Oh, yes, it gets very stringy. That's the one form of it that I'm not that keen on.
That's
I'm
my
not
favorite
keen on
part.
it, really. I'm not very keen on it when it's actually heated up because it
When
is a
it's
bit
melted.
stringy. It's a bit stringy, and I
Yeah.
don't like that. But I much prefer it when it's. But it is true that it always tastes nicer when it's at room temperature, because for
Yes.
some reason when it's at room temperature, it has a lot more flavour and it's really tasty. If you take it, most of the time, people keep it in the fridge to conserve it. But if you serve it immediately when you take it out of the fridge, it doesn't have the same kind of explosions of flavor on your tongue. Oh,
Well,
come on.
nobody
Somebody must guess.
nobody seems to know what it is. I think we have to tell people, Lynn. I
Oh, my
think
goodness. I
see
can't
it,
believe that.
nobody's guessing. I think it's cheese.
It is, of course, it's
Yeah,
cheese.
it's cheese.
Cheese. And I adore cheese
And
from
what's your
all around
favorite
the
kind of
world.
cheese?
I love all of them, but I do like the harder cheeses, definitely. So I like cheddars. If we're talking about Asturias, they have some lovely cheeses up there, but they're very, very
Yes.
strong, very strong. There's a famous one whose name I've just forgotten now. What's the really famous one from Asturias? It's got blue veins in it, and they make it in caves. Um,
Oh,
I
I can't.
there's a special name. The name is on the tip of my tongue. There's an expression for you. On the tip of my tongue. That's when you have a word and you can't remember what it is. But we're talking about taste today. So that name, I can't remember it. But anyway, it's a bit like Roquefort, which is a French version of it.
Is it
Um,
Roscales or something? Maybe Roscales.
Cabrales, Cabrales.
Cabrales.
That's it, and that's a lovely cheese, but you can't eat very much of it. I love cheddars. I like Goudas, not the mild Goudas, but the stronger
The strong
Goudas.
ones.
I love unpasteurized cheese. So some French cheeses are not made with pasteurized milk, but they're made with unpasteurized milk. They're a bit smellier, but they're absolutely delicious. So I love like Gruyere and those kind of cheeses. But I'm not really a fan of cooked cheese, not melted cheese. I like cheese in a cheese sauce. I can eat it like on macaroni cheese or whatever I can have. But I hate it when they show you the pizzas and they pick up the piece of pizza and the cheese is all stringy on the top.
That's the
Oh,
best part.
I
That's the
cannot
best
stand
part.
that. No, I don't like that. No.
Melted cheese. Speaking of
Uh-huh.
tongue, as you did, and taste, let's look at some vocabulary. So we've got
Okay.
tongue, which is where you taste the food, and the tongue has areas of taste for sweet, for sour, etc. The words are on the screen here: sweet, sour, bitter, salty. For example, anchovies. How do you say that? Anchovies or anchovies? What's your preference?
I say anchovies. Uh-huh.
Anchovies, me too. Anchovies are very salty, and these different types of food, like cheese, for example, has a flavour. So it could have a strong flavor. It could have a sharp. Some cheese has a very sharp flavor.
And when we
it
say
hits your
sharp,
tongue.
it hits you. So you taste it and you think, oh, and it's very dominant. That's a sharp flavor. It could be unpleasant for some people, or
Yeah.
it could, but it's a flavor that sort of completely gets rid of any other flavor in your mouth when it's sharp. And a mild flavor is one that's not so strong. So there are some lovely cheeses too, like Burgos cheese in Spain, or cottage cheese in England, and those cheeses, or mozzarella, for example, Italian cheese, and those cheeses are very mild. They haven't got a very strong flavor at all. Maybe bitter. We should bitter. There's a difference, isn't there, between sour and bitter?
Sour would be a lemon or some citrus fruit, a lemon or a lime, and a bitter would be. How would you describe bitter? It's not a citrus sour.
Maybe like coffee. If coffee is very, very strong, you can say it has a bitter flavor. It's unpleasant because it's not really sweet very much.
Also, with chocolate, if you get chocolate with milk and sugar, then it's quite sweet, isn't it? But if you go up and you have more of a percentage of cocoa, so when you go up to 95% cocoa, then it gets very bitter. You don't have that sweetness in chocolate. So it goes from very sweet when it's white chocolate up to bitter chocolate, which is very dark.
And Victoria, you've nailed it, Victoria. Well done. She said vinegar is bitter, of course.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Vinegar is bitter.
Vinegar is bitter, not sour, right?
I think so. You wouldn't say it was sour. You would say it was bitter.
Yeah.
Sour, we definitely apply to milk, for example. So when milk is past its best and it starts to turn into cheese, then we would say that the milk is sour, and the lemon is sour. But I think bitter could be vinegar. Also, you have some alcohol that is bitter. So, for example, Campari, the Campari is a bitter flavor. And there are some beers as well, aren't they, that are bitter in taste? They're called bitters.
Because they taste bitter. I've also checked on. I've just checked on ChatGPT, and it said exactly the same way that we described it. Sourness
better than ChatGPT.
Well, the same as, just as good, but with more personality, maybe. Sourness is associated with acidic foods like lemons, while bitterness, that's the noun, is associated with foods like coffee or dark chocolate. Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Got some more comments here about fabada. It's made with beans, yes, but special beans from Asturias, only for that kind of food. You have to put it inside the pot, I think that is, with water. Chorizo, ham, morcilla, a kind of... morcilla is black pudding.
Black pudding in English.
So it's made with pig's blood, Marcin, if you have that in Poland, I don't know. Yes, it's really tasty, but it's difficult to describe. Well, it's not sweet, it's savoury. And I think if you use spicy chorizo, it can be a little bit spicy. But it's very rich, it's very creamy because of the beans. It's quite heavy food, but in the winter when it's cold, it's the best thing. It's absolutely delicious, yeah.
Yeah, and I think also that Hema has described a dish. So she says, well, for example, one of my favorite meals is very tasty because it has many ingredients like different vegetables, rice, and sometimes it has seafood, and other times it has meat. I know what this one is.
Paella. It's paella, isn't it?
Paella. Is that right, Emma? Is that paella?
Is that paella? She also likes cocido.
And fabada.
Fabada, yeah.
Okay. And okay.
Cabrales smells bad.
But it's delicious, yes,
but it's delicious, yeah.
Okay, so shall we, staying on this one, because we got lost in sweet, sour, bitter and salty, sharp and mild. We have to explain to you the difference between it tastes like or it tastes of. Uh-huh. So when you say it tastes like, then, for example, I might eat, let's say I'm having a piece of cake, and I say, oh, this tastes like the cake my mother used to make. Uh-huh. So when I'm saying it tastes like, I mean it's similar to, the flavor is similar to. But when I say it tastes of, this is because the flavor that I'm tasting is the flavor of an ingredient. So I can say, oh, this cake tastes of oranges. Has it got orange in it? Uh-huh. Okay, so to taste of means that you're sure of the ingredient in it. But when you say this tastes like, then you're comparing it to another food, okay, that maybe you've had before or somebody else has made or whatever, okay? All right, that's the difference between tastes like and tastes of. And that same difference, we'll be mentioning it again next month, applies to the verb smell, because you can also say it smells
Smells
like
like and
or it
smells of.
smells of. You can say that perfume smells like the perfume my grandmother used to wear. Or I can say, oh, it smells of roses. Uh-huh. Because you think the ingredient in that perfume is rose. Okay?
And Gemma's confirmed that we did actually guess correctly with her description of paella. Well done,
I
Gemma.
think you were trying to flatter us, Gemma, because you know we're from Valencia, and Valencia is the home of the paella. So, yeah.
So moving on, we've got some other descriptors of taste. We can say that food is spicy, as I mentioned before with the chorizo, which is the Spanish sausage. It can just be savory, which is not sweet, or it can be spicy. If you think of Indian food, for example, curry is, generally speaking, very spicy. There are a lot of spices that are hot in curry. So curry is typically a spicy food. Not all of it, but most of it.
And a savory food just means, really, curry is also a savory food, because savory is the opposite to sweet. So you would say, do you like sweet or do you prefer savory? Personally, in foods, I much prefer savory food to sweet food. So food that is salty or spicy, or like paella is a savory dish, but chocolate cake is a sweet dish, for
Exactly. And I've
example.
just put a U in savory because I had the American spelling up there
Yes, I thought that. Yeah, I was about to say that.
in British English with many words that are with an O, like colour, for example. They don't use the U, but we spell it with a U. So savoury, colour. What else, Lynn? There are many words like that.
Favorite.
Favour, yeah.
Yeah.
O-U-R. Umami is from Japanese. We've taken that word from Japanese, like many words, like tsunami and judo and karate, etc. But unami is another one of the taste descriptors. So it describes taste. It's one of the 5 areas of your tongue.
Oh.
And it's the taste of a broth or some cooked meat very often. If you've ever eaten any Japanese food and you've tasted miso soup, that is typically a umami taste. So it's,
Does it mean, is it like fatty? Like when you have caldo in
it's a brothy taste. According to Google, it's the 5th basic taste alongside sweet, sour, salty, and bitter, recognized as a fundamental flavor sensation. It's often described as savory, meaty, or brothy taste.
Do you know, I've never used that word umami, even though it's in English now, but I know the flavor. I always say, because sometimes I have that urge to have a broth, with a caldo in Spanish,
Especially
a
in the
broth
winter, yeah.
winter, or sometimes when I'm feeling like a bit run down, when I'm a bit tired and my immune system isn't great, and I need that kind of fat. And you get that fat in broth, and it's basically the fat of the, I mean, you don't really get umami tastes in vegetarian foods, do you?
No, it's not very
No,
common. It's mainly
because it
a
really
meaty, brothy,
I think it's
brothy
the
taste.
meaty broth of fat taste. And I always say it puts hairs on my chest.
Hope you're not going to prove it.
I'm not going to prove that, but I always say, oh, I need something that will put some hairs on my chest, and that's the feeling that I have when I have that kind of meat. And sometimes I just get an urge for that kind of umami flavor. And
I'm just checking if umami is actually vegetarian or not vegetarian, because I'm not sure.
okay, and then we have like very clearly tasty, so it tastes nice. Tasteless means it hasn't got any flavor. And we have another word for something that has no flavor, and that we say is bland.
Yeah,
So if it is bland, it has no flavor
no
at
flavor.
all. Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
did. So I have found out, and it isn't only it's meat and vegetarian. So
I'm
if
vegetarian.
you
Okay.
are a vegetarian or a vegan, you can find umami flavors in things like mushrooms, tomatoes, seaweed,
Okay.
fermented foods, and nutritional yeast, which are
Oh.
all vegan friendly. So it's not only a meat flavored
Okay.
thing, umami. I didn't know that. That's
I didn't
interesting.
know that. It's not, I have to say, I don't use that word. I couldn't say, oh, this tastes umami.
You
Right.
you
These are more
can,
mine.
yeah.
These words now are more the words that I use. And the thing is with these, it's really easy because you just put a Y on the end of
A
kind of, you
noun.
add a Y to textures, nouns or yeah, nouns that describe textures. So you can say something is rubbery. Remember, rubber is like, well, I've got a rubber here somewhere. Where is it? Like, what you rub your pencil out with. This is a rubber.
All teachers have
All
got a
teachers
rubber
have a
to
rubber,
hand at all times,
and a red pen. But a rubber,
and a rubber band for teaching pronunciation, as you taught me, Lynn.
exactly. That's right. Always use a
Rubber
rubber band.
band.
So rubbery is, if imagine you were eating that kind of texture, you would say something is rubbery. My horrible flavor food is octopus. Octopus. Oh God, it's rubbery.
You don't
The
like
first
it.
time, oh no, when I had a tentacle of an octopus, that was rubbery. Very unpleasant for me. Buttery, I like that. Buttery is lovely. It tastes of butter. So I love crumpets with butter melted in
Oh,
them. And then I
crumpets.
love eating the butter and the butter runs down your chin. I love that buttery. Creamy, like my cheese. So something like cream. Chewy. Now, chewy can be something like,
Meat.
true, it could be that, then it's not very pleasant, is it, when it's chewy?
No, because it takes a long time to chew.
Yeah.
And
But some things are nice that are chewy. For example, I like Haribo sweets, the little gummy bears, they call them. I love chewing like those kind of soft sweets.
so if you don't know, the verb to chew is to break the food into pieces with your teeth.
In the
So you put the
kitchen.
food in your mouth and you use
Uh-huh.
your teeth to make the food smaller. Obviously, if the steak or the meat is very hard, we say tough in English, Tough. Then you use your teeth a lot to chew. So then the adjective to describe it is chewy.
Chewy. And then we have stringy. So that we were talking about cheese earlier being stringy because it's got the consistency of string, and it sort of gets stuck between your teeth sometimes. Sometimes vegetables can be stringy. Sticky. Stick is, for example, when you glue something, when you have glue to glue paper together, and if it's sticky, it's you feel it sticks to your teeth, or it sticks to your tongue, quite badly. So there's quite a few sticky foods, I think.
For
And
example, jam could be sticky,
jam could be
especially
sticky.
if you spill it. Be careful of the difference between jam and ham with pronunciation. That's often
Yeah.
confused by Spanish speakers.
Yeah.
So jam has that strong j
Ja.
sound at the
Uh-huh.
beginning.
And then velvety, if you were in our live stream about touch, we talked about velvet. Velvet is a material which is very soft and smooth to the touch. And we often use velvety to describe foods. Often drinks, actually, wine is often described as velvety, a velvety flavor, because it just goes down your throat really softly and smoothly with no sharp edges or flavors. So velvety. And then the other one, the big one that you used, and I've just seen that Hemma's written that she loves all kinds of salads now. And of course, salads can be very crunchy. Crunch, okay, to crunch is the sound that something makes. We looked at the word crunchy also with the live stream that we did on sounds and hearing. The crunching of feet on the snow, didn't we, on fresh snow? But it's also crunchy, is it makes that sound, and you can bite into it, and it's very pleasurable as a taste if something is
Yeah.
crunchy. Raw carrots are crunchy, salad is crunchy, crisps are crunchy.
And I described those peanuts earlier with the pad thai in the pad thai as being crunchy, adding a
Yeah.
crunchy taste to it. So
So something that you can bite into and it makes a nice, pleasant, pleasing sound, I think. And Victoria said about velvet, she loves red velvet cake. Yeah, that's
oh
very
yeah, that's
popular now, isn't
lovely.
it? Red
Yeah.
velvet. And it's like a very creamy, soft cake, isn't it?
Yep, it's delicious with lovely
You don't.
icing on top.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, so that's easy. So if you find a texture and you add a Y, you might be successful and you've got a new word to describe a taste.
Exactly.
Where are we now? What
Shall
are
we
the words?
let's take a break for a couple of minutes because there are quite a few people watching and you may be watching for the first time and you don't know who we are. So if you are interested in conversation courses, that's one of the main things I do when I'm not doing live streams with Lynne. And next week, actually, the new courses are starting on Sunday. There are still places. If you have a B2 level, then you're very welcome to connect with me on the website englishcraig.com and book a free consultation for about 10 minutes. And I will explain the course to you and let you know how you can improve your fluency, your speaking, and your communication skills and get a bit more confident when you're actually speaking English together with me and a small group of lovely people. So if you are interested in knowing more, englishcraig.com, there you'll find the button to book a free Zoom call with me. And Lynne, tell them about putitlikethis.com.
All right. So my website is putitlikethis.com. That's my business, and I'm an online teacher, but I specialize in kind of tailor making courses for students. So my proposition is to try to help you find your own voice in English. So usually people study English because they have a specific objective. Maybe you want to pass an exam. Maybe you're a teacher in English but you're a non-native teacher and you're having to give classroom instructions in English all the time and you want to improve your fluency for that. Or maybe you're a business person and you need to make presentations in English or sell your products. Or maybe you're a scientist and you need to explain scientific processes in English. So I have all sorts of types of courses, but basically I always start designing the courses from the premise of what your objective is. So if you have a very clear objective in English and you want to find your own voice and improve in specific areas, then I put together a course that will try to help you fulfill your needs. But if you go to my website, I've got some examples of the type of teaching that I do, so you can have a look there and explore further, and you can get in touch with me over the website.
And also, if you happen to be a chef or if you're involved in food production and you need words like rubbery, buttery, creamy, chewy, then Lynne will help you to express your
I would, but I have to say that if
culinary
anybody,
needs.
so far I've never had a cook yet. No cook has come to ask me to explain, but I think I would have to do that face to face because I think I'd have to taste the
You'd
foods
have
for
to taste the food. You'd have to
I
taste the
would.
food.
I'm not sure whether we could do that one online. We'd have to see.
So, continuing with some more vocabulary, your palate is the part of your mouth that appreciates the taste of food and will recognize if it's good or bad taste, if you like it or you don't. And if you do like it, you can say that the food is palatable. There's a direct connection, obviously, with the word palate. You like the taste, you enjoy it, it tastes good. So it's palatable, and the opposite, you need the prefix unpalatable. You don't really like it. It doesn't
That's
suit
quite,
your palate.
and that's very negative as well, because if you say this food is unpalatable, it's quite a heavy criticism of the food. It's like nobody can
is.
eat this. It's horrible.
Yes.
And then taste buds. Now we use the word taste buds. Your taste buds are actually the individual receptors that are on your tongue. Craig spoke earlier about 5 different areas of your tongues, but actually the biological receptor, I think, on your tongue is called a taste bud. And we say, oh, my taste buds are a bit off today. I don't think I'm well. Or you love this, your taste buds will love this. So sometimes you might hear the word taste buds.
And nibble is a fun word to say. It's a verb and a noun. To nibble on something is to just taste or eat a little of something. So maybe you
Like
might
that.
nibble between meals, for example. You might nibble on some biscuits or on some fruit. So to nibble or to have a nibble is just to have a little bit of food between meals.
It's a verb that describes the way that you're eating something. And if you imagine the way birds eat things, they eat very small quantities and they pick a little bit here and they pick a little bit there and they pick a little bit there. That is really to nibble. A lion does not nibble. No? A lion, yeah, he would gulp, for example, gulp. He would go in and he would, to gulp is to swallow in big pieces. But to nibble is to bite very, very small pieces at a time.
So if you hear a native speaker say to you, "Do you fancy a nibble?" What they're really saying is they're offering you a snack, something small to eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in a similar way with liquids, you sip liquids. If you want to taste a good wine, for example, you don't want to gulp it, which is to take a lot of liquid in one go at one time. You just want to just take a little sip, a little bit of liquid, a little drop of liquid, and that's a sip. So to sip wine, for example.
Yeah. And then this is a lovely verb. I love this verb.
Quench.
Quench. It might be a little bit difficult to pronounce when people see that. Quench.
There's a W sound in there, isn't there?
There is. When you see QU at the beginning of words in English, always think of the word queen, because I think everybody can say the word queen. And really, it's pronounced as if you have a K and a W. Queen. And most of the QU words in English, when they begin with QU, the sound is KW, qua. So it's like quiet, or quench, or queen, or equip,
Equipment.
Yes, and some people have problems with that QU, but it's actually, think of a W, KW, right? So now I love this verb. I just love that verb, to quench your thirst. And when you're really, really thirsty and you take the first bit of water or the first drink of beer on a hot day, cold beer, then you quench your thirst, and it means that you kill the thirst that you have, you stop being thirsty after that. You feel completely refreshed. And it's lovely, isn't it, to quench your thirst? I like that. I like that word.
It's like putting out a fire in your throat.
Yeah, it's to like finish it, to kill it,
Exactly.
to kill the thirst. Good. To quench your thirst.
There are also some interesting collocations with the word taste, not necessarily connected to food, although it can be. If you have good taste in something, you need the preposition in, then that's a compliment. Maybe you have good taste in clothes. That means the way that you wear clothes and choose clothes and match clothes together is agreeable. It's nice. It looks good. So then you have good taste. Or you might have good taste in furniture or in decor in your house, the pictures on the wall, the color scheme. Of course, the opposite is to have bad taste. Bad taste in music, bad taste in clothes, bad taste in food, bad taste in furnishings, for example.
And then sometimes we say, oh, it's a question of taste. And that, what does that mean really? It
You're
means that
subjective.
everybody has different tastes. So I might say, Craig, what do you think about that picture, on that painting on my wall?
I think
And
it's terrible.
you might say, I think it's terrible. And you could say, I think it's terrible, which is not very nice, and then I won't speak to you again. Or you could say, well, it's a question of taste, really. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my taste.
Which is similar, for there's no accounting for taste, because everybody has a different taste. So the expression there's no accounting for taste means that you can't say definitively for sure that something is good or bad when you're looking at art or when you're listening to music. It's a question of taste, and there's no accounting for it.
So you can often use that response, it's a question of taste, if you don't want to commit to something. So if somebody says to you directly, do you like this? Or do you not like it? And then you'll say, well, it's a question of taste, really.
Vinicius has a good question. If my brother buys a car, can I say you have a nice taste? I would say
No.
you have good taste.
Good taste.
If you like the car, if he buys a Maserati or a Ferrari, you can, yeah, you've got good taste. Can I drive it? Yeah, you've got good taste.
Good taste. Okay. And finally, there's a nice phrase as well. It's an acquired taste. Now, an acquired taste is a flavor that maybe when you first tasted it, you really didn't like it, but you persisted, right? And then over time, you began to develop, you really liked the taste. And so much so that maybe you end up loving the taste.
You get accustomed to it.
You get accustomed to it. And this has happened, I think it's probably happened to everybody sometimes with a certain type of food. So, for example, cheeses, for example, when I started to eat cheese, I only used to eat mild cheeses. And when somebody presented Cabrales to me, I thought, oh, no, I don't like that. But over time, because I've always tried it and tried it again and tried it again, and then suddenly I think, oh, I really like this. And then I actually eat a lot more of strong cheeses now because it's an acquired taste. I think the most common thing that I think everybody's had the experience with is alcohol. I think if you, the first time people drink alcohol, whatever age you are, most people don't like the flavor of alcohol.
They might like the effect, but not the flavor.
They like the effect, but not the flavor, yeah. But there's something about alcohol, it's probably because it's addictive, that eventually you start to like the flavor of alcohol. I mean, did that happen to you? I mean, it happened to me and all my friends that I know. The first time I ever tasted beer, I didn't like beer.
But it happens
very often. The
often.
first time I tasted wine, I didn't like wine.
It happens very often with wine because I mean, I don't know wine. I've never liked wine, and I don't know anything about wine. But I know people who do, and they say that they develop their palate for the wine. We had palate before. If you develop your palate, you acquire a taste for particular wines. So there's some wines that you prefer and some wines that you don't like so much. And I think wine is an acquired taste. I think you have to drink a lot of it, learn about it, and really develop your palate to know what kind of wine you like.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the more experience you have in it, the better you get at it. So
Do you
it's not
like
an
do you like
immediate.
wine, Lynn? Are you into
Yes,
wine?
I do. And as a young, when I first started drinking wine, I didn't like wine, and I started with white wine, and then because I never drank red wine. I only like white wine, but then over the years, I have started to drink red wine, and now I drink very little white wine.
So you've acquired a taste for
So
red
I've
wine.
acquired a taste for red wine. But I think I think wine is a question of taste. I hate it when people say, "Oh, this wine is really good," and that's not a good wine. I'm not going to drink that. That's a horrible wine, or that's a terrible wine, because I really do think that wine is a question of taste, and what tastes good for me might taste completely different for somebody else, because
But
it really does
it's
depend
all a
on your.
I mean, I think food is all a question of taste. Whether it's
True,
beer,
that's true.
whether it's different kinds of soup or different kinds of meat or salad or fruit. There's some fruit
But
I don't like, and some
but
fruit I like. It's a question
True,
of
but
taste.
I think maybe with food rather than wine, you can see quality of food. So, like for example, you can tell that if the meat
Yes.
is not fresh, then maybe everybody agrees that the meat is not good. Yeah. Whereas with wine, I think that's really down to the kind of flavors that you like, you know. Whereas I think like with food or lettuce or salads, you can say whether it's good quality or bad quality because the tastes are very obvious there, the differences.
Yeah, but like Hemo, I quite like salad, but I can't stand celery and I can't stand radishes.
No, really. Yeah.
I just don't like the taste. So I think everyone, yeah, it's a question of taste.
Question
Exactly.
of taste. Right.
So moving
Okay.
on, now that you've got some vocabulary and we've looked at quite a few words, and I know that everybody watching has been writing down these words in your notebook as we're saying them, haven't
Of
you?
course, they
So
have.
now you have a huge vocabulary to describe your favorite food and practice the vocabulary. So have a go. Now that you have some vocabulary, we spoke about bitter, salty, sweet, sour, sharp and mild, velvety, rubbery, all those lovely nouns with the Y at the end, buttery, creamy, chewy and stringy and sticky, savory, tasty, bland. So practice the vocabulary and try again to describe something that you like or something that you don't like. Doesn't have to be your favorite food.
I'll tell you one food that I like. It's not, I don't eat this very often, but do you know that Viennetta ice cream dessert
Yeah, I don't really like that.
it's like a kind of
Yes.
cake? And I have to say, I don't
Yeah.
really like the ice cream in it. But you know what I really like? I really like
The
that
crunchiness.
combination of the crunchiness of the chocolate when the
Chocolate.
chocolate goes clack in your
Yeah.
mouth, doesn't it? And then like the cold ice cream. The other thing I really like as well, more than that Viennetta chocolate thing, I was just thinking of the combination of flavors, is I love English hot desserts served with cold ice cream. So I love like hot apple pie
Sticky
with
toffee pudding.
vanilla ice cream, or sticky toffee pudding, which is delicious,
Spotted
with
dick.
cold ice cream, or
Yeah.
chocolate fondant hot
Yeah.
with cold ice cream. Fruit crumbles I love too. They're not very Spanish, are they? But they're quite English. It's basically cooked fruit. So like it could be berries, or it could be rhubarb, or it could be apple or plums, and they're cooked. And then on the top there is like a sort of biscuit topping,
It's
which is
very
made with
sweet.
flour
Yeah.
and sugar and butter, and then it's baked in the oven. So you have that combination of that little sort of crispiness with the sour fruit.
So when you come over for dinner for your pad thai, I'll ask Angelis to make you an apple crumble because it's difficult to get rhubarb in Spain.
I love rhubarb crumble
It's
though.
not easy to find here, but
No, it
apple
isn't.
crumble she knows how to make.
I make a plum crumble. I make a wicked plum crumble.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
which is very nice. Wicked is an adjective we often use for food, and wicked means evil, and that sounds horrible, doesn't it? If you call a person wicked, it's like that they're not a nice person. But when we say food is wicked, it means wow, that's super tasty. We want
Yeah.
it.
Well,
So it's a very positive word for food.
the kids these days use the word sick for wonderful.
That's
Which
true. They
when
say
you
it's sick.
it's really sick. Like this crumble's really sick. Which doesn't really sound nice when you're talking about food, because to be sick is to vomit.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
but sick has taken on another meaning in the last
It
few
has.
years.
Yeah. And like wicked is a very negative word, but not when it's applied to food. It means it's brilliant.
So we've got
Okay.
some comments coming in. People are saying, Victoria didn't take notes. Victoria, you're not going to pass the exam if you don't take notes.
No, but what she'll have to do is watch the whole thing again. Another hour of your time gone.
So you can scrub or flick through the video that will be saved on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. So the video's not going anywhere, Victoria. We don't actually publish the vocabulary elsewhere in another place, but you can watch the video again and write down the notes, write down the vocabulary.
If you are working on a laptop or a desktop while you're watching this, if you're not watching this on your phone, but you're actually on a computer, when you see the chat file, you can copy and paste that into a document. So any vocabulary that you see there in the chat file, you're able to copy and paste. If that's another way of learning about it.
No, it's not, Carmen. You can use wicked as a positive adjective to talk about many things. You could say, "Oh, the film we saw yesterday was wicked. We really enjoyed it."
That's true. For an experience.
Anything. It's like the Ferrari is a wicked car.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're calling a person wicked, if you're calling a person wicked, then that's not good. That means that they are evil. As Lynne said. But you can say that a person is a wicked footballer.
Yeah, true.
Or a wicked driver, which means they're very good at what they do.
Yeah. Okay.
Shall we have a question?
Question? Okay, all right. Tastes are often linked to memory. Now, that's true. Everybody talks about that. We talk about tastes, but really it's a way for us to remember things.
Yeah.
Do you have any particularly vivid means clear, good or bad memories of tasting something?
Tasing something. Yeah, when I tased my friend.
No. Do you have any particularly vivid, good or bad memories of tasting something? Okay,
I do.
There's a spelling mistake there in that banner. Go on then, tell us, Craig. Tell us about your memory.
Well, this might annoy some people because I know that this food has been criticised, but the first time I tasted duck liver was in France, and it was in a market, and I remember I was with my wife and she said, "You have to taste this." I never tasted it before. It's not common. It wasn't common in the UK when I was growing up. The liver, the part of the animal from a duck or a goose. It might have been goose liver. I'm not sure. But we bought some lovely fresh baguette French bread and sat down at the side of a road, and I tasted it, and it was like this taste sensation. I thought, this is amazing. This is wicked. This is really, really good. But of course, it is cruel the way that this food is made, because I think they fatten up the animal unnaturally, and then they kill the animal and remove the liver. So I don't think
so. That's like the foie gras, no?
Foie gras. It was foie gras. Yeah. Have you tasted foie gras?
I have, and it's very nice. But it's true. When I found out how it was made, then it
turned you off.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't eat it, but it's not something that I would buy, let's say. But sometimes if it's in a restaurant, I might have some, or if somebody makes it for me, then I would eat it. But it's not something that I would buy.
So do you have any vivid memories of good or bad food?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like I can remember certain foods that just tasted so delicious that the memory is so vivid in my mind of the occasion. So, for example, I remember once I was in Lisbon with my husband and we went to a restaurant, and it was it was in August and it was really hot, and we'd been walking around quite a long time and we were hot and we were tired. And we went to this restaurant, and I remember we had Albarinho, which is a white wine, a Portuguese white wine. And I can still remember that it was the most amazing wine I've ever drank. And we drank it, a lot of it. But I just remember the flavor, it was just, I don't know, it blew my mind away when I had it. And obviously it must have been the circumstances too, the fact that it was a hot day and that we were tired and we were we were hungry, we were thirsty. But I don't know, and I've always bought Albarino since, but I've never found that flavor. I'm still looking for that one that I had.
Yep.
And I remember another white wine in New Zealand once that I tasted, Chardonnay, which I've also continually tried to buy bottles of Chardonnay, and it's never tasted the way it tasted on that particular place that I remember.
But sometimes
many years ago.
It's when things come together that makes the food memorable at that particular time in that particular place. The people you're with, the moment you drink it, the smells,
the way you feel.
If you're very hungry or very thirsty.
Exactly. And I can remember once in France eating a dish which was mussels, and they were cooked in a saffron sauce. So they were yellow. And they came to my plate, and it was in this creamy yellow saffron sauce. And again, it's something that I'm constantly on the lookout for because I remember how delicious it tasted, and I've never found it again.
Yeah. Maybe it's better to just stay with the memory of the wonderful mussels.
That's true. No, I do, because I remember it. So if I think of a food that I really enjoyed, I can remember that taste, and it was lovely.
I think Vinicius is from Brazil. Moqueca de camarão. I'm sorry about my bad Portuguese. With dende oil and vegetables, is an amazing Brazilian seafood taste. I've never had that. I've never tasted that, but that sounds delicious.
Yeah. Well, do you know, that's from Brazil. I've never been to Brazil, Vinicius.
Me neither.
But I went to Peru last year, and they have a lot of food which is made with marinated with lime, fish marinated in lime. I've forgotten the name for it.
Ceviche?
Ceviche. And that was an amazing new flavor for me, because that was
quite
something
sour,
that I
isn't it?
It's
sharp.
Sour, but it's refreshing, and the fish is beautiful. And I don't know, I thought it was amazing. I wanted a ceviche all the time with everything, and lime with everything.
Yeah, ceviche. Yeah, that's lovely. Carmen says also, I thought so. Oh, that's the wicked thing. Yeah, it has a double meaning. Double meaning. Gemma said something somewhere. Here. In general, I have good taste. Not a good taste, just good taste without
because taste is not countable. No, never. So it's always, I have good taste. You can't say, good taste.
Of course you have good taste, Gemma. You're watching us. You have very good taste. Except for what we call cascarilla. What's cascarilla?
Cascarilla is,
do you know?
Yes, it's tripe. Okay. Cascarilla is all the inside organs of the digestive system, isn't it? So it's like the intestine, it's the stomach.
Isn't there another name for it, like callos?
Callos,
Is that also?
But I think cascarilla, though, is the term for anything that is from the digestive organs.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't like
correct
that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Gemma. If you think I'm wrong, please let me know.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Gemma. I don't like that stuff. No.
Yeah.
She likes meat and fish.
Meat and fish, but she'd rather. Now, Gemma, there's a little mistake I want to pick you up on. You're saying I would rather, Or you can say, I prefer, because would rather, that combination of two words, is a synonym for the word prefer. They mean the same things. You're putting them all together. You can't do that. You could say, I prefer fish to meat, or I would rather have fish to meat, to have dinner. Okay. And although I can drink a little bit of wine eating, I don't like alcohol in general. Yeah, I only drink wine usually when I'm eating. I have to eat
Yeah.
something to have wine. Yeah.
I only drink alcohol once a week from Monday to Sunday. So I'm joking, of course. We had some more comments, but I've
We
lost
did.
them.
Diego, you
you
can
can
prepare.
prepare ceviche with crackling. What's crackling,
Oh,
Lynn?
crackling is the fat from an animal, usually a pig. But it can be from anything. It can be from chicken. It can be from the fat of an animal, which has been roasted at high temperature so that it turns crispy. And do you know,
Crunchy.
Diego? Yeah, and crunchy. And I have had that. Yes, I have had
Yeah.
that with crackling. But in
Ceviche.
Peru, another thing they often used to do for that crunchy flavor with the ceviche was not to put the crackling, but was to put roasted corn kernels, which were cooked at high temperatures, very crunchy. And that gave that crunchy bit in the ceviche. In Peru, it was made often with corn.
Sounds delicious.
But crackling with meat is lovely.
Victoria remembers when she tasted cheesecakes in Poland. Yes, delicious. All kinds of the cheesecake.
Oh, I've never had that. No.
Yeah, I know that Marcin has some very nice cheesecakes in his Polish town. Although I can't remember the name of Marcin's town, but he's a student of mine, and he showed us in the group when he did a presentation the lovely cheesecakes and food from his town. Yeah, delicious.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, all this talk of food is making me hungry, Lynn. I think it's time for dinner. What do you think?
I think it is. And I'm going to enjoy every bit, but I'll still be searching for my mussels with my albarino and my
With your
and I won't
white
find
wine.
it yet. Yeah. But the good thing is I still keep discovering new food memories. So, you know, I am adding to them as I get older. I keep having a new one every now and again, you know. So
You're never too young to discover new tastes, new
no,
sensations.
definitely not.
So we hope you've learned some new vocabulary. We will be back again in 2 weeks with a different topic to speak about. And to remind you, if you're joining for the first time, I'm Craig from mansioningles.com, which is a website with support for Spanish speakers, where you can learn English for free. And we also have some paid courses. If you prefer listening to improve your English, then try our podcast at inglespodcast.com. That's not my podcast with Lynn, that's my podcast with another teacher, Reza. And if you are interested in improving your speaking, then consider going to englishcraig.com, where you will find more information about my conversation courses.
Okay, thank you. And just to remind you who I am, I'm Lynn, and my business is Put It Like This. That's my website, putitlikethis.com, because I'm trying to help you put it in the way that you want to speak. So put it like this means say it like this. And I want you to find your own voice in English. So if you have a specific objective in English, lots of different types of objectives out there. If you do have a specific objective, then you can come to me and Put It Like This, and I'll try to create a course to help you achieve that specific objective. If you look on my website, you can see examples of the kinds of work that I do. Okay?
And Marcin has shared the name of I think it's his village and not the cheesecakes. Lynn, would you like to pronounce that for us?
I knew you would say that for me. That's not fair, Martine. I've only been to Poland once.
Drożdżówka.
Drożdżówka.
I'm sorry.
Drożdżówka.
That sounds good to me. I'm sorry, Marcin. I'm sorry about our bad pronunciation of your town. Yeah.
The thing is, you can't correct us in the chat file unless you'd like to write it in phonetic script. But
Well, I'm sure we'll see Martin again on another live stream. He can jump in and tell us how he pronounces it. Anyway, thank you very much for listening this week. It's been wonderful to have your company, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Yes.
In the meantime, bon appetit, as they say in France.
Enjoy your food. Enjoy your meal, as we say.
Enjoy your meal.
Enjoy your meal. That's the bon appetit. Enjoy your meal.